How does this Zeekr differentiate itself from its siblings? My name is Bastiaan and welcome to Electric on Wheels. Yes, a Zeekr, the Zeekr X to be precise. A car that stands on the same platform as the Smart #1 and Volvo EX30. But if you ask me, this car is nicer looking than those cars. The Zeekr X is available with the same drivetrains as those other cars. That means there is a long-range version, the car that is standing over here, that has one motor at the rear and enough power to do 0 to 100 in 5.6 seconds. And there is a more luxurious version with two motors. That one can do 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds. And yes, there is a Frunk of 21 liters. But for the boot, I already have to go to the good, the lovely, the bad and ugly. As with all Chinese cars, the least expensive version already comes fully loaded. As what I could find, the more expensive privilege version only gives you more power, bigger wheels and massage seats. Things that were not so great in the Volvo EX30 are fixed in this car, like 4 switches for your windows. In front of the driver there is a display for your driving information and there's even a head-up display. The Zeekr X is 20 centimeters longer than the Volvo EX30 and therefore has a bigger boot with a capacity of 360 liters. But when I first opened up the boot, I was disappointed because the shape of the boot is not handy. Put one stroller in here and the boot is full. You do have some storage space under the boot floor and if you fold down the rear seat you have a capacity of 1182 liters. Just like the Volvo EX30, I can set my cruise control above 130 km per hour, but not the system that will automatically steer for me on the highway. Why, Chinese car makers, why? Besides that, according to Zeekr, I should have an augmented reality head-up display, but it is not AR at all. No, it is more a 3D head-up display. And being a Chinese car, it does like to make sounds to me more than average. Let's have a look at the rear seats. The seat in front of me is in my typical driving position. I am 1 meter and 85 centimeters and I have plenty of knee room. The seat is not in its lowest position and therefore I can also shove my feet under the seat in front of me. And this car has a glass roof as standard, so headroom is absolutely fine. What I do notice though is that the seat in front of me is one piece and the seat is also quite wide and therefore my visibility to the front is not great. For me as an adult this is fine, but for a child it is less fun. There is a nearly flat floor, but sitting here with 3 people will be a bit cozy because the car is not the widest and the seat itself is quite low in the car and therefore I do not have any support for my legs. Besides that, there are separate air vents here in the door pillar, a USB-C port, a USB-A port and a armrest with 2 cup holders. In my review of the Volvo EX30, I said that it was the best driving EV that I had driven so far. And you can feel that the Zeekr X has the same DNA as that car. It is only a bit less engaging to drive. And the reason for that, there is a bit less feeling in the steering wheel and the same as with the Volvo, the steering is in sport now and in every other setting than sport. It is too light if you ask me. And the suspension of the Zeekr is more comfortable. Don't get me wrong though, it is still a better than average car to drive. It is just a bit more on the comfortable side. What is also really comfortable is the quietness of this car. On the highway, even at higher speeds, this car is quiet. And also on the highway, even at higher speeds, the car still feels planted on the road. Although I have to say, even though in general the car feels stable at higher speeds, when you drive with a higher speed on a more bumpy, rougher road, the car can feel a bit wobbly because of the more comfortable suspension. You also have good seats, plenty of adjustment in the seat and steering wheel, so finding a good driving position, no problemo in this car. Visibility to the rear though, really terrible. And it may tow up to 1600 kilos. The WLTP range of the version with 2 motors is 400 kilometers and of the long range version with 1 motor that I am driving is 440 kilometers. During my test period it has been between 5 and 10 degrees Celsius and not too much wind. And when driving on mixed roads, I could get a range of 370 to 420 kilometers. So that means that I expect that in summer, yes, you can do the WLTP range of this car and probably even a bit more. And for more details, watch my range test up here. But what I don't understand is that this car has the same drivetrain, the same drag coefficient as the Volvo EX30, but it seems more efficient than that car. Maybe it is because this car has a heat pump as standard and the Volvo does not, at least that is what I remember, but again, I am not completely sure why. Besides that, the car has 2 regeneration modes, and I think the navigation software can plan charging stops when your destination exceeds your range, but I am not completely sure, to be honest, because when I try it, the car is claiming that there are no charging stations to be found along the route. So it seems like it can do it, but it can't. Maybe it is a bug, again, I don't know. Not many cars have this, but this Zeekr X has a 22 kilowatt onboard charger for normal charging. That means if you charge with 22 kilowatts, charging from 0 to 100% will take you around 3 hours. Fast charging can be done with a maximum of 150 kilowatts. Charging from 10 to 80% will take you around half an hour. And when navigating to a fast charger, this car will precondition the battery pack. And as first seen on any car that I have driven, this car has a little display in the pillar of the door where you can see your charging speed and your charging time, so you don't have to peek in the car anymore. Oh, and I forgot, it does have support for vehicle to load. I have to be honest, I like this interior better than that of the Volvo EX30. It just feels more expensive, especially in this optional blue and white trim. Man, I love light interiors. It also feels more roomy because, well, as you can see, there is no center console. And what is also not there is a glove box for some reason. I do have a flap here in the middle. I can store stuff behind that, but yeah. Here in the middle is also a USB-C port that can deliver 27 watts and a USB-C port that can deliver 60 watts, enough to charge a laptop. And there is a hook. The door pockets are pretty big. You can store at least 2 1-liter bottles in there. And you do have some storage space here in the middle that you can also close to put things out of sight. But overall storage space is not that great. Yes, there is also a cup holder here and a wireless charging pad for your phone. And what is really handy is that in the wireless charging pad for your phone is a flexible rubber ball to hold your phone in place. As Chinese car makers do with their EVs, there are no physical buttons to be found. And therefore everything is controlled through the infotainment system, and therefore there is a nice big screen here in the middle. And although I would have liked some physical buttons, I do not mind using this infotainment system. It is fast, it is responsive. Yes, if you look for certain settings, it can be a bit of a search, but all the functionality that you use every day is easy to find. And if you swipe down, you have some customizable shortcut buttons, and you can also have some shortcut buttons to turn off the annoying but mandatory safety systems. There is also support for wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And of course, the infotainment system can also be connected to the internet. The first year is free, but after that you have to pay, and in the Netherlands this is 100 euros a year. So how happy does the Zeekr X make me? Does it make me sad, neutral, smile or grin? Well, if you have children, then I would choose a bigger car for the money. But if you don't, it makes me smile, maybe even grin. Because what I don't understand is the pricing strategy of the Geely company. Because for less money than a Volvo EX30, you get a car that is bigger, has more tech, but doesn't feel less in quality. I mean, that would be a no-brainer, right? And that was it. Thank you a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and then as always, to be continued.